days following the Crucible were a haze of recovery. Esther spent most of her time moving between the survivors, her palms glowing with a soft, iridescent light as she knit together torn muscle and soothed the burns caused by uncontrolled powers. Beside her, Alice was a constant shadow. "You're so brave, Esther," Alice whispered, handing her a clean cloth to wipe the sweat from her brow. "The way you stood up to them, I don't think I could ever be that strong. I just have these small flashes of light in my eyes. Nothing like what you and Xerxes can do." Esther gave her a tired smile. "It's not about how much power you have, Alice. It's about not letting them break who you are." Alice nodded eagerly, her blue eyes wide with faux admiration. "Is that why Xerxes follows you around? Because you're his anchor? He seems so intense. I tried to talk to him earlier, but he just looked at the floor and walked away." Later that evening, Esther found Xerxes sitting by the ventilation grates, where the air was coolest. He looked better. The healing she had channeled into him had finally taken hold, but his expression was clouded. "You're thinking too loud," Esther teased gently, sitting down beside him. Xerxes didn't smile. "That new girl, Alice, she came to me while you were helping the others. She said the scientists told her that if we don't start using our powers for them, they'll start taking the weak ones away. People like Mache." Esther stiffened. "They're trying to scare us through her. She's probably just repeating what she heard during her intake." "Maybe," Xerxes said, his voice dropping. "But she also mentioned that you were the one who told the scientists we were bonding. She said you were trying to negotiate for better food by offering to study me." Esther felt a cold shock run through her. "I never said that, Xerxes. You know me." Xerxes looked at her, and for a moment the trust they had built in the White Room wavered. "I want to believe that, but this place, it makes people do things they never thought they would." He stood up and walked away before she could defend herself. From across the room, Alice was busy helping Mache organize the sleeping mats. But for a split second, she glanced over her shoulder. The innocence in her eyes was gone, replaced by the sharp, calculating gaze of someone watching a fire they had just lit. Before Esther could say a word, the intercom crackled to life. "Attention," Dr. Aras's voice rang out, cold and mocking. "It seems some of you are under the impression that you are a community. Let us remind you of the hierarchy." Suddenly, the floor beneath Mache began to vibrate. The water in the central fountain didn't just rise. It turned into jagged shards of ice, hovering threateningly around the woman who had become Esther's closest friend. "No!" Mache cried out, her own power flickering as she tried to command the ice back into liquid. "Esther!" Alice screamed, rushing to Esther's side and grabbing her arm. "Do something. You have to save her. Xerxes, help her." Alice wasn't just screaming for help. She was pushing them. She was trying to force Esther and Xerxes to display their full power in front of everyone, to create a spectacle of violence that would justify the scientists' next move. Esther looked at Mache, then at the cameras, and finally at Alice. She saw the way Alice was positioned, always perfectly in frame, always watching for a reaction. "Xerxes," Esther called out, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "The fountain. Don't attack the ice. Melt the core." Xerxes met her eyes. The doubt Alice had planted was still there, but the bond they shared, The emerald pulse was stronger. He stepped forward, his hands glowing a fierce molten orange, but instead of a blast of fire, he simply touched the ground. The heat traveled through the floor, warming the pipes beneath the fountain. The ice didn't shatter. It simply breathed away into mist. Esther rushed to Mashe, wrapping her in a hug. "I've got you. We've got you." Alice stood back, her hands balled into fists at her sides. Her mission to drive a permanent wedge between the two alphas had failed for now, but she was patient. She knew that in a place like this, trust was the most fragile element of all.